Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. Today is Monday, July 20th. I have to look at my calendar just to make sure. And this is Seeking Sustainability Live number 63. And today we have Simon and Moo with us from Kyushu Journeys. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Yep, you're welcome.
Can you start by just introducing yourselves to us before we launch into your wonderful photos and your wonderful products?
Okay. Hi. My name is Moo. I'm born raised in Japan, of course, especially in Kyushu. Um, but we lived for about 15 years in Indonesia, Bali. Um, so how long ago? It was about 3 years ago. We came back to Japan, and because we both are in a tourism business in Bali, so what we do back in Japan, it came to us. We open up a small travel agent. That's what we are doing now. Basically, today I'm assistant to him, so more things will come from him, Simon.
Yeah, so actually, she's the company director and the staff. Yeah, so I'm from the UK originally. I've been about 25 years in Asia. I first came to Japan during the bubble years when everything was booming, which seems a long, long time ago. I left, I went to Singapore and Hong Kong. I came back to Japan for a few years. We met and as Moo said, we went to Indonesia together. I, with a couple of buddies, had a business there in the tourism. Moo worked in hotels and travel agents and stuff. And about 3 years ago, we just felt it was time to wrap up Indonesia and come back to Japan, which Moo likes quite a lot, and I like too. And we started Kyushu Journeys about 3 years ago.
I notice you have some of your testimonials are from people from Indonesia, from Singapore. Do you find most of your travelers that use your services are from Asia, other parts of Asia?
Basically, we are open to anybody who speaks English, because all, as you see, our websites are in Japanese, not in English. But so far, maybe about 80% of our clients from Singapore and Malaysia and some Indonesia.
Mm-hmm. And on your website, you guys say you're Kyushu's biggest fans. So before we dive into all the specifics, tell me, what do you guys love about living in Kyushu? There's so much, I'm sure, but
this could take an hour. Kyushu is really, really beautiful countryside, which we've both always loved. So we often jump in the car and take a drive. Really nice mountainous areas. It's had a lot of volcanic scenery. There's a couple of very active volcanoes here, and that the landscape kind of feels in some ways very much alive. There's places you go with the steam coming through the ground, and if you go to the volcano, you can see all the smoke coming up.
Yeah, we'll show some of your amazing photos later that you've shared with us, and people can see all your amazing places that you've been to. I love the cave photos with Moo in there, so we'll see that a bit later. So on your website, you also talk about family trip planning for families.
Yeah, this is the main thing we do. So, like Moose said, most of our clients are from the region, and most of them probably do rent a car, self-drive. So what we will do, we'll often get families from Singapore or Malaysia, Hong Kong or Indonesia, sometimes from the States or the UK, but usually around Asia. And we will plan their trip but generally they'll be traveling independently. Occasionally Moo will guide if there's some specific thing that's her interest, like pottery or food related thing, but generally we will just make their itinerary and make it super, super easy for them to follow, even though, of course, most of our clients don't speak Japanese. We tell them exactly where they go every step of the way. We book everything for them. We arrange all their meals, if they have any dietary restrictions, what kind of accommodation they want. And then they come and they go on their own. And we're here on WhatsApp as well, so sometimes we'll get a message saying, I'm a bit stuck, I can't communicate with this person, or what time does this open, or something like that. So we're we're there in spirit and online during their trip, and sometimes we will meet them and do guiding, but often we won't meet them at all, except obviously we have a lot of interaction during the planning process. A lot of our clients are families. As you know, in Asia is a very family-oriented place. So it'll often be families, which will often be 3-generation kids and the parents and the grandparents. We get quite a lot of seniors coming. Our service isn't the kind of service that backpackers would use. Backpackers like I used to be for years, we put on a bag and we go. We don't use a trip planning service. Our service is more for people who want to get make the most of what they're doing. They have a limited time, so they don't just want to kind of wander around hoping they find something. They want everything planned out. They want a super nice experience. And quite a few of our clients are seniors with 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah, I would say that is probably, for me, and if I'm traveling with my family, the most attractive way to travel is to rent a car, to have somebody who understands the local area to make the arrangements for me, so I know I'm getting to the right places that I want to be, to have the best experience. But I think in Kyushu, it's still hard to do that by yourself. It's still hard to find the best information just by completely doing independent travel online. So using services like you guys offer is really useful for travelers who want to be independent but want to have the best booking or the best recommendation. Don't you find it's still a little bit hard for people who don't speak Japanese or don't live there to know what the best places would be?
Yeah, you're right. There's a couple of issues. One, English isn't spoken anywhere near as much here as it is in Osaka or especially Tokyo. A lot of websites are for accommodation, and bus companies might not be in English. But people do come on their own, and they of course they use TripAdvisor and they use places. But then they end up going to the main tourist areas.
Yeah.
So what they do, all the tourists go to the same places. So they come back from Kyushu and think, wow, that's a place really full of tourists.
Yeah.
Actually, our clients, we really make a point of getting them off the beaten track. What we love, it's so often we will go to a shrine or a temple or a festival, and I'm the only foreign-looking person there. In Tokyo and in Kyoto, of course, you don't get that. And if you just follow TripAdvisor, you won't get that either, because everyone will go to the same places. So we're always in our clients the places that most tourists don't go, and which is such a pity because there's so many, really great places here.
Yeah.
That if you do go off the beaten track, you can go. Luckily, Kyushu, as you said, is a great place to drive. It's very rare you get a traffic jam. As you know, in Japan, they've spent so much money on infrastructure, trying to boost the economy over the past few decades. The roads are great. The scenery is lovely. So, we arrange a car with English GPS, and we give very clear navigation. They just punch in the navigation code. So it's very easy for them, and they end up really seeing a side of Kyushu that they probably wouldn't have seen if they'd self-planned themselves.
Yeah.
Especially a side of Kyushu, a side of Japan they wouldn't see if they'd gone to Tokyo or Osaka or Kyoto. It's very different. You interviewed Dan last week from Shikoku.
Yeah.
Very similar thing. Here you can really see Japan as people imagine it, perhaps, or Japan as it used to be, Japan as it should be. You know, Tokyo is great. It's a great, great world city, but it's a big, busy city. Kyushu is a different kind of place, so you know you'll see a different side of Japan coming here than you would if you went to Osaka. Or
Definitely. And I would say that's the future of tourism. That's sustainable tourism, because we, until now, all of the tourist focus has been on numbers. How many people can we pack into event halls, or how many tourists can we get to go at the same time in tour buses, or, you know, and that's just not sustainable before Corona. And now it's not possible because we have to avoid crowds. So I would love to promote Kyushu travel, and what you guys are doing is fantastic in terms of the future of tourism, I think, in Japan. So thank you so much for everything you're doing.
You're welcome. I mean, one of the reasons that we left Indonesia for a lot of reasons. Basically, it just felt the time to finish. But we were in Bali, on Bali Island, and we were there 15 years, and the change in tourism and tourist numbers over that time was incredible. I think if I'm not wrong, Bali now has a population of roughly 4 million. In the busy season, there's 8 million people there. So in Japan, there's 120 million. Imagine 240 million people all coming in. And, you know, we used to sit in traffic for hours in Bali. And it wasn't like that 15 years ago. It was a different kind of, you know, people want to get cheap packages, people who don't have a lot of money. You know, you can understand from their side why they want to join cheap package tours. But, you know, we're hoping that Kyushu holds out as long as possible from that kind of tourism.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the big tourist attractions, the biggest bronze Buddha in the world, actually, is here in Kyushu, and they recently banned groups of foreign tourists. You know, because they didn't specifically say why, but you can imagine why. You know, if you're going to visit a temple, you don't want a huge busload of 40 people being perhaps disrespectful, or just being happy and joyful and noisy and taking photos and buying souvenirs.
Yeah.
You know,
well, it's not sustainable. It's not good for local people. It's not respectful of the culture, and it's not even good for the visitor, to be honest. And it's not the right kind of visitor. We want, and I think in the future after Corona, we will get more visitors who have to invest money and time more seriously in travel, because it's not as cheap or easy to do budget, quick, mass travel. So we won't have people just going, okay, saw that, took that picture, let's go, right? We don't want that kind of traveler. And after Corona, that kind of travel is not really possible anyway. So I think, yeah, for sure, more quality, spend more time, plan more carefully. So the services you guys offer is great. Let's look at some of the examples. I love this example. You have a noodle house that looks like a school, and it's like looking down into the kitchen. Where is that? I've never seen that. That's brilliant. It looks like a schoolhouse.
It must be a Mengekijo Gende in Fukuoka City.
Okay.
It's a tiny little place, but I think it's already have got quite long history, or more than 10 years, I think. So we try to send people there, but maybe maximum, when you really pack, maximum 20 people can accommodate at one time.
Yeah.
So
it looks so fun, and it looks like a school room, like a classroom.
Yeah, but it says Mengekijo, men's theater, gende. So
Oh, okay.
you can look at the staff making ramen noodle because the it's like theater. The table has got a slope, so
Uh-huh.
from the bottom to the top, everybody can see the guy making ramen.
I love that
Yeah.
idea. I love that idea. I just had the vegan ramen at a chain in Hiroshima yesterday. But one of the pictures is the guy holding the noodles up, right? Because it's kind of like a performance art, you know, you want to watch them making it. So that's so fun. You also have so many great hiking photos and photos at shrines. Do you want to tell us some of your favorite places to take people or to suggest people go on hikes?
Yeah, there's so many. One thing that we've done recently quite a bit. It's called the Ole route, and this is actually quite popular from Korea. And as you probably know, Kyushu is next to Korea, so in normal times we get a lot of Korean visitors. And what the Ole routes are, they're generally about 4, 5, 6 hours hikes, and they take you through one specific area, not just the beautiful countryside, but also some of the traditional places. So they will pass through a shrine, maybe a tea plantation. The great thing about them is you can follow them without being able to speak or read Japanese, because they all have colored ribbons along the route and arrows that you can see. So we do them ourselves to check them out for our clients, because we love we love hiking anyway. And so we tell our client, okay, start here, follow the red ribbon, and 4, 5, 6 hours later they will finish it. And so it's not just the countryside; they'll really experience the culture and the tradition of the place. They will often end some. I mean, one of them we went ended at the stalls next to the seaside where you could buy the freshly grilled seafood. That, you know, it's a great way to end it. Some of them will end near an onsen resort. They'll pass through old shrines and temples, nice gardens, and through forests and mountains. So this for when we're planning our client's trip, we will give them a checklist of things they like doing, and if they tick the one for walking or hiking, this is one of the options we'll do. And I think Kyushu has how many Ole? About 10 or
no, more than 20. More than 20 now.
So we still have a lot to do.
I was really impressed. We did a family trip down to Nagasaki, and all of the signs were in English and Korean and Japanese. And the hiking routes were so easy to follow. And maybe that's what you're talking about. For Korean travelers who come over and do a lot of the hiking trails, they have like a guidebook, or they seem to know where to go quite easily. I thought the signage was really good around Kyushu. I haven't seen that around our area. No?
I think
Some areas maybe.
that's the exception rather.
Okay.
Again, Nagasaki is one of the very much on the beaten path places.
Right.
So I'm sure they're much more.
Well, we were off the beaten path. We were in like an island area. I'm spacing the name. It's quite a historical area for the missionaries, and it's past House Tembosh, a bit further. I am blanking. Sorry. Anyway, it'll come to me later. It was a beautiful area. We stayed in an onsen hotel. We did some hiking around there. They had famous boats, old churches. It was great. I'll have to think of it later. I want to hear about your caves. Tell me about all the caves that you go to. You've got all these great photos of caves.
Shodai.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually it's one main caving system, and actually it's not far from Fukuoka city. And it's just so much fun. You walk through the cave. If you have kids, you probably don't go too far. The further you go, I mean, it gets quite narrow, but the path is lit, and the water gets a bit higher and higher. So the water ends up, up to your knees. If you're moose size, it goes above your knees. And it's great. You bend low, and the water's flowing, and it's a super safe because it's lit along the way. But it's a great adventure. And actually, when you reach the end, the lights go out. And if you're braver than us, you get your flashlight and you carry on. We got to the end of the lighting and said.
So I see you, Moo-chan. I see you in the water wearing Crocs. Is that it? Part of it? It looks so beautiful.
Yeah, you pick up the Crocs at the start, don't you?
Yeah, you can borrow the Crocs. They've got loads of stock. So, if you're wearing the kind of cloth trainers or
Regular shoes.
Regular shoes, if you don't get them wet, you can change with the cloths they offer, and then you start walking. But if it's only about 5 minutes or 10 from the beginning, maybe you don't need to get wet. But the very interesting part is after that.
Yeah, it looks amazing. Looks really interesting.
The water is freezing, huh? The water is freezing. I got to the point I almost turned back.
Yeah,
really cool.
It's because we went there in February. Yeah, because that's why you felt it cold. But actually, because it's inside of the cave, the temperature is always the same, basically, like 16 or something. So if you go there at this time of the year, it's a nice cool. It's a good place to stay now.
Yeah. Now, if you go this time of year, it has a lot of wild flowers, and it's a very beautiful area. It's a limestone scenery, so that's why it has the caves, obviously limestone caves. But the whole area is quite interesting and nice. Scenic.
Walking as well. Hiking
and walking and passing through that area is very nice.
Wow, nice. You've also got a picture of Moo-chan going through a hike, and there's ice on the ground, and you're using a chain.
Really. When we went and we walked that route with the chain, I'm not sure. It's not ice. I don't think it's ice actually.
Is it? It just looks like a bit of ice or snow in between. It looks cold.
It may have been. Yes. So Tasaguri is another place. It's only about 20 minutes from Fukuoka City, and it's beautiful. It's full of forests, cedar forests. And actually on our website we put one specific hike where we took photos all along the route. So it's a sign of Moo saying, when you get to this junction, turn left, turn right. So anybody who doesn't speak Japanese can follow it. There's so many small shrines in that area. It's very beautiful wooded area. Yeah. So again, you interviewed Dan last week about Shikoku. They have this 88 temple.
Mm-hmm. The pilgrimage route. Yeah.
Tasaguri has its own mini one with also 88. You can follow, and it's through this wooded cedar area. I think I sent you a photo of Moo hugging a huge cedar tree.
I have it. I'll show it.
Where has about 7 big cedar trees that are named, and you do your walk and you walk around all 7. Again, it's a very pretty, nice area to visit. Just 20 minutes by train. By train, actually, you can get there from Fukuoka City, and from our house only 20, 30 minutes as well. So we quite often go there.
Is that where you have somebody in traditional garb climbing a tree? I have that photo up right now. That looks really interesting.
Mountain Priest
Oh,
Festival.
is that a priest festival?
Ah, that is in a different area, which is close to Hiroda. It's a cave place, and that is only once every year, like May, if I'm not mistaken, and that lasts for about 400 years, and it's only held by the mountain priest family. And now there's only one person knows how to do that festival. And so when we went there, even that the local office, yeah, local tourism office people come and try to record all the things. So that is kind of dying history of the mountain priest family.
That's
So actually,
yeah.
what he's not climbing a tree. It's a big bamboo pole. It's
Oh,
really
wow.
high, 20, 30
Yeah, about
meters.
20 meters, and that even should be made by those families. So it takes kind of some months to prepare that pole.
And he climbs up the pole. You saw him. He's wearing all this stuff, and there's no ropes or safety harness. He's climbing up with all this stuff, and then he gets to the top, and everyone is, wow, he's climbed this 20-meter. And he's not young, is he?
No, he's already kind of in his 50s or 60s, and so it's so thrilling, looking at it.
And then as he gets to the top, he takes out his sword, and he swooshes this bamboo, and it's quite, your heart is in your mouth. Again, like we said, he's a descendant of the mountain priest, so they have this pride. And once again, we went to this festival. We drove up to the mountains, and I saw there, I remember specifically one other foreign looking person, and I went and said hi. Wow, another foreigner, with this really beautiful, amazing festival, and it's just not on the tourist trail at all.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So you can connect them to that culture, which is kind of dying out. That's of course very important for sustainable futures as well, to document and to preserve this kind of heritage for culture and tradition as well. Events are a bit tricky now with coronavirus, but as long as people are outside and separated a little bit, it's still possible, I think. You've got another picture of archery on horseback.
Yeah, I went to this one. Again, this is just 20 in Tagawa, just 20, 30 minutes from my place. And it's so impressive. So they gallop a horse at full speed, really full speed with no hands, because they've got a bow and arrow. And as they're galloping full speed, there's small targets which are this big, and about half of them they miss, but half of them they hit. And it's really skillful. They're really galloping full speed, no hands, and hit this target with a bow and arrow. And actually, we went on a monitor tour there, so we had pride of place. We were next to the mayor, right in front of the target. This is why I get this quite nice photo. I have a video of it somewhere, and it flashes by in a moment as he goes so fast. He flashes by, and the target bursts, it shatters into pieces. It's really, it's very, very impressive. And actually, just 5 minutes down the road, they have a horse place where
they're hosting.
They do this. They go around Kyushu doing this activity, just literally 5 minutes.
Wow.
We live in the kind of 5 minutes.
That's great. Is it possible to go and watch them practice so you can see it more regularly, not just at an event? That would be great. The problem with event tourism is it's only one time of the year, right? So I always give suggestions when I do destination consulting that if you let people watch the practice maybe once a week, then you can offer that all throughout the year. So then it's a more accessible activity, right?
Yeah, it was something that would have to be arranged in advance. But yeah, I'm sure they'd have to practice a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And you were talking about keeping these things sustainable. When the one I went to, they had a couple of high school kids were learning to do it from the older people, so they were still keeping this tradition alive. So in a few years they'll be the star attraction. So that at least isn't completely dying out. Still younger people who rather than spend their time twittering and Instagramming want to get on a horse and do no hole archery, which is great.
That's amazing. And what a skill. It must be very difficult to do, and they must have a certain way that they teach it, right? It's like in Hiroshima's area, we've got kagura or shimane, right? And the passing kagura down to the younger generations to learn that performance art. You also had an interesting like puppet performance, like Japanese dolls theater.
Yame Craftwork Center. So actually this is in Yame, which is we send our clients, is very famous tea growing area. They have a beautiful viewpoint above a tea plantation, but they also have a craft museum. And it's not just a museum, they have workers there, old guys and old women. Some are making bamboo, I remember. Some were making the paper. And then they have this old theater, and actually you kind of have to ask, show me your theater, and they take you through. And it's a beautiful old puppet theater, and they take you underneath so you can see the workings, the way they move they move the puppets, and they have the pulleys, and the stage moves down and moves up, and it's gorgeous visual display. Do they have many performances anymore?
Yeah, they do. Basically every year, if I'm not mistaken, it's November sometime. That will be held actually outside in a premises of a shrine. So when I lived in Yame for a few years when I was little like this. Every year we went to that shrine, and there's so many little stools, food stools and stuff, and then eating ringo ame or some sweets, and sit on the ground and looking at that puppet show. And to the little child, it was a bit scary, really kind of Japanese face puppet in the dark and doing a slow, motion. A bit scary. So.
And you said it's near the tea fields. Near the tea fields, you have some beautiful photos next to all these beautiful tea fields of tea. Is that the same area?
Yes.
And then you have.
And I think I sent you another photo there. So after they've been to the craft center, our clients, and after they've been to the viewpoint, we suggest they go to a cafe where they have the very, very, very good local Yame tea. They can buy some to take away, but there's a cafe there, and you can order. So they have, if as you do your Japanese tea, gyokuro, the very, very nice tea, or the very high quality sencha tea. And they explain to you how to brew it. So if you buy some to take away, and one of them there, you can see they have a timer.
Yeah.
Because they want to time exactly 90 seconds.
Nice.
To make the gyokuro, and the waitress will tell you, this is exactly how you do it. This should be the temperature of the water. This is how long you should how many seconds for the first pot of tea, and then when you make the second one, it should be the water is a bit hotter, and then the time is a bit shorter, and they explain all this. So when you take away this tea, which is very, reasonably priced compared to what you would pay abroad, certainly for this very, very good quality tea, when you buy the tea and take it home, you actually know what to do with it at
That's
home.
great. It's like training as well as enjoyment, right? A bit of education, tea education. I love that. We've had some nice comments so far. Mary on Periscope has said, hello, Simon and Moo. And nice, love it. Lol, very nice. She's following the photos, making nice comments along the way. Allison has said, I'm sorry if I missed it. I'm late. Where in Kyushu are you based?
So we're in Fukuoka Prefecture, but luckily I'm happy to say we're about an hour from the big city. So we're in Izuka City, but we're a little bit out in the suburbs of Izuka City. The 50 meters is the rice fields, where I would take a walk every morning. So yeah, we're about an hour out of Fukuoka City.
What was
the good thing where we are?
What was the name of the
jump in the
place?
car. Izuka.
Yeah, I think Allison is actually living in Fukuoka, so she knows the area.
Allison, drop us a message later. Maybe we can hook up and
yeah, wonderful. All right, let's go. You've got so many wonderful photos. I want to go to a new location. Tell me about the waterfalls and the valley boats that you have. You have on your website for autumn. You have a shot with like in a gorge with some boats and the autumn colors. Where is that?
Takachiho. Again, this is due to the volcanic history of Kyushu. This was made by a huge eruption of the big volcano. Beautiful, as you describe it, huge gorge with sheer walls, and people can rent a rowing boat and row the boat along the gorge with the waterfall. And Moo took a group of seniors there from Singapore last time, and she said they were having so much fun she couldn't bring them back to the shore. They were there rowing away. And this whole area, Takachiho, is very traditional, very, very beautiful area. It's so green. Last time we stayed there, we stayed in the accommodation of a shrine, which is a 400-year-old shrine. Temple. Yeah. Temple. Which actually had an English lady who was the priest.
Yeah.
So it had an English Shinto.
No, it's just.
We'll have to research later. An English priest who was married to her husband, who was also a priest. So we stayed in the temple accommodation, and we could ring the bell at 6 in the morning and 6 in the evening, and really get a feel for, again, rather than staying in a regular hotel, staying somewhere like this just adds to the feeling. It's a beautiful place. Huh? Very, very
it looks amazing. And you have some, like a cave with a Buddha carving on the outside. There's a carving of a deity or a Buddha or Kannon.
Huge one. We had the picnic in front of it.
Oh, it's always yeah. It's a different place. It's in Oita Prefecture, because Oita is known for those kind of stone carved Buddha. Not the statue, but it's just carved out of natural rock wall. Mostly they made late Heian to Kamakura period. But they are so, I don't know, I haven't got the words to express them, but it's really so great, because wherever you visit and see them, your heart gets so calm, and it's a wonderful time you can have.
Yeah.
So we
I
when you mentioned
lived in
I
Oita.
can't.
I lived in Oita for 3 years, many years ago, and I don't think I visited. That looks really interesting. I'll have to go back. We did a lot of cycling tours. We climbed up Kuju or other mountains. We did a lot of outdoor activities, but I never found these statues carved into the cave. How interesting.
As Moo said, there's quite a few of them around. On that day, we went to 2 or 3 different ones, and some of them there's just not a soul there. You know, these are from the 8th, 9th century, so they're over 1,000 years old. Like Moo says, they've got these serene looks, and we're just there alone there. Most of them are in forested places, a little bit up into the hills or the mountains, and we're just us and these Buddhas, and you can really feel, you know, who came here 1,000 years ago and came all this way before they had cars or trains and spent so much time before they had drills. You know, who came and had the passion and the belief to make these such beautiful carvings that us, 1,000 years later, are just on our own.
Yeah. There's
Appreciate
such a sense of
it.
history, but also a sense of the dedication of people who spent so much time and effort to make it, right? And the sense of place. That's amazing that you get that inspired feeling when you're there. That's wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about factory visits. So industrial tourism has become more popular recently. You guys went to, looks like a sake brewery, and you've got your suits on. You had your full gear on.
Yeah, we have lots of sake breweries, but Kyushu is the country of shochu.
Yes.
So the one you are looking at must be Ichiko
Okay.
Kita Distillery, which is also located in Oita. So if you come to Kyushu and go to a izakaya kind of the restaurant, you will definitely see this Ichiko bottles lined up in the shelf of the kitchen. So that's a very famous shochu producer, and I think they resumed factory visiting now, but last 2 or 3 months they closed because of the corona thing. But now you can visit and take a look at the factory. But normally that is a self-guided tour, so you just come in and take a look around the huge plant from the glass window. But that one you're looking at is not once or twice every year they have Ichiko festival in the factory area, so they can arrange the special tour only those 2 days, and I attended it.
And you can see Moo actually doing a very serious shochu tasting. You don't just have a
Oh
sip.
yeah, it looks like you're
have
doing
bottles,
a sommelier course or something.
and you have all these sheets you have to mark, and all these different ones. And,
At the end, you don't know.
you're watching the guy in front of her getting redder and redder as he drank. But it's a real serious. As I say, it's not just taste this; it's taste this, and write down the different characteristics. And they gave you different foods to pair it with, and it's a very serious tasting. And you saw on the photo she's stirring the big vat, and they show you the grape. It was a very, very good tour. Huh? Very good
Yeah, awesome. We had a shochu expert on the show, Stephen Lyman, who's academic expert, but also he's made it himself. So, of course, anyone who goes to Kyushu has got to try shochu. It's such a big part of the culture, and so many different areas have their own unique shochu. He was saying that shochu is made all around Kyushu, and 80% is sold and drunk in Kyushu. So it's a very it's kept to Kyushu quite a lot. It's not really even exported to other parts of Japan. That was so funny.
And they make it from so many things, don't they? They make it from
barley,
sweet
sweet potato, rice, and sesame.
Yeah, I heard some really interesting ingredients. Was one made from mushrooms, shiso, right? Like really cool. I'd love to try lots of different varieties. I have to admit, when I lived in Kyushu, I wasn't that interested in shochu, or I sometimes had chuhai, but I wasn't very interested. But recently, as I get older, I really like shochu because it has so low levels of sugar, so you don't have like a bad feeling the next day. Not if you drink a lot, but just drink a little bit. You feel fine. It's really nice. I'm a big fan now.
Actually, another of the photos I sent you was an old railway tunnel, which they now use for storing hundreds and hundreds of barrels of shochu. And you can just walk along, and it's kept, because it's an old railway tunnel. It stays quite cool. It's a nice place to visit in summer.
Uh-huh.
It stays quite cool, and there's just hundreds or thousands of barrels of shochu aging. And then you go to the shop, and again they're lined up, so many bottles for you to do tasting and purchase.
I love the ceramic bottles that quite often you can buy shochu in the nice ceramic bottle, so you can reuse the bottle after you finish. In some of the older distilleries, they'll have that. Let's talk about onsen, because of course Kyushu is so famous for onsen. Can you tell us about some of your favorite onsens?
Yeah, again, we could talk for an hour about our favorite onsen. I mean, Kyushu has just dozens and dozens of onsen towns. Some of them quite famous. Kurokawa Onsen, Yufuin, Beppu are very famous. But there's so many smaller ones that we often go to, which is on the way, if we take a trip on the way back. And these are onsen towns that in the Showa era, let's say 40 years ago, were booming places. This is when the Japanese had enough money to travel, but not really were traveling abroad yet. So they have built huge hotels, and huge groups, company trips used to come. And now they're really off the tourist trail, and they have a bit of a rundown feeling, but the quality of the water is wonderful. They were built originally because of the high quality of the water. So even though you wouldn't go there and say, "Oh, this is an amazing looking place," the quality of the water in the onsen is just exceptional. You can smell some of it. Some of it's like moisturizer, like lotion, and you can smell the sulfur of it. And the different places you go have different water. I'm not sure I sent you the photo. We went to a small place in the middle of nowhere in Kumamoto, totally brown, muddy water. But it's great for your skin, and there's just so many different onsen places. If you like the big town, you can go there. If you like and even as you travel through, you will just find small onsens dotted around the countryside that we would never have known about. You just see a sign, and we go there. We often take a family bath together, and just enjoy that. Or sometimes we go in the separate one, and it's so healthy for you. It's enjoyable. It's healthy. It's very inexpensive. What's not to like?
Yeah, I love it. And such a nice variety, like you said, of different areas have different types of onsens, different natural minerals, which is good for your skin or good for other ailments that you have. I love this one photo you have with all the different temperatures of all the different baths. So you've got the hottest one, which says it's the hottest one, is 46 degrees. That's super hot, man.
That's super hot. I couldn't get in
There's
for more
no way
than
I could get in that.
30 seconds. And there was a couple of old Japanese guys in there pretending to enjoy it, but they looked like lobsters. I don't think they were really enjoying it. But
How? How did they get
that
in?
place, but that place will have a very hot bath, but also a bit cooler bath next to it, 42 degrees or 43.
Right.
So you jump from one to the other. And in that old onsen town, it's a real traditional town. There's people been bathing there for 1,300 years.
Wow.
You know, and they have beautiful old baths, the tall ceilings, and it's so such an atmospheric place.
Yeah. You have this one beautiful picture outside, so a Rotenburo outside, and it has just a stunning view of the mountains, the forest. It's just amazing. Where is that?
In Kuju
Oh, is that
Mountains,
Kuju? Mm-hmm.
around Aso. And the thing I really noticed sitting in that bath, I couldn't see a single thing man-made. I mean, no road, no car, no building, no electricity pylon. Just as far as I could see, it was beautiful. And that's quite rare these days, that you don't see anything. There's normally a building or a road or something, just nothing. Yeah, beautiful. Again, we just stopped on our way home and we had a bath for an hour in a big hotel in Kyushu.
Oh, that's
Beautiful.
amazing.
We
Alice?
didn't actually stay in the hotel. We just jump in the bath.
Yeah, wonderful. That's nice that you can do that. You don't have to be staying at the hotel to use the onsen or the Rotenburo. Usually, they might have certain times when only hotel guests can use, but usually it's open to the public, right? Allison says, your photos are all amazing. So she's enjoying seeing all the photos. Wonderful. Now, you have a castle and a castle moat. Would that be in Kumamoto or Fukuoka?
That photo is Kokura Castle in Kyushu. That's such a fun castle. They kind of renovated the inside recently. There's loads of activities for kids. Sometimes castles they look great, but there's not much for kids to do. But Kokoro Castle, they've really lots of such fun activities for kids to do inside. And actually, Kyushu has some great castles. Karatsu Castle in Shimabara and Kumamoto Castle is still getting renovated after the earthquake. We were lucky enough to go before the earthquake, and it's beautiful. You know, it looks great outside. It has so much history to it. You know, it's a proper castle with proper walls and a proper history. And inside they've got these gorgeous, huge tatami mat rooms. And unfortunately, as I said, it was damaged in the earthquake of 2016, but it's well on its way to renovation.
And you often send people and suggest a lot of classic towns where they make pottery as well, pottery or ceramics. I have a lot of your pottery and ceramics pictures. Do you want to introduce that a little bit? Where are some good places?
Yeah, just loads of pottery town and villages in Kyushu. And of course, Arita, Imari are the famous brands. And also Karatsu has got a different taste, really an earthy, grey potteries they have, which were loved very much by tea masters. And also Hasami or Mikawachi, which are in Nagasaki Prefecture. They have got really nice blue and white paintings, but also they recently make a new production which is relatively cheap and appeals to young generations, kind of very kind of dark coloring and pop paintings and stuff. Yeah, and even a tiny little village called Agano, which is also about 20 minutes from
Nice.
our office. It's not it's not known to even the Japanese people very much, but it has got long history and considered to be a really nice one by the tea masters. And we went there about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and Simon tried to make his own pottery, and now we are waiting for them bake and come to us. It's so exciting. Huh?
Yeah, you can do a pottery tryout there. And I think another of the photos I showed you was Moo had a client from the States actually who had quite an interest in pottery. So Moo took her around to a couple of the smaller pottery villages that you wouldn't normally visit and introduced her to some of the potters there, and they showed her the different techniques. And some of these villages, they still use such traditional methods. They pound their clay with a machine that fills with water. The weight of the water smashes down to pound the clay. The water flows out, so it goes up again, and it goes down. They use wood-fired kilns. Everything is handmade there. They do the decoration, the painting by hand. It's such traditional, and because quite close to our house, and Moo often goes there, we now know some of the potters, so you can give them a call and say, we're going to come down and we're going to introduce this person. If you don't mind, can they have a look at you while they're working? And normally they're okay with that. And it's such an experience. I sent you a photo of a grandfatherly looking guy with a coffee cup. So we bought this coffee cup, and I said, who made it? And they told us, and I said, can I meet him? So they brought him out, and he's 14.
He's 13.
He's 13th generation. And think in our country, if you have a business owned by your grandfather or your great grandfather, this is exceptional, eh? He was the 13th generation. His father, his father's father's father, through 13, and we met his son and his grandson, so they're now their 15th generation.
That's wonderful.
And it's continuous, and think over the years what's happened in Japan over the years, all the wars and all the plagues and the constant civil war and the earthquakes and still they've just carried on making their pots. And the younger generation, they don't go off to become a salaryman. They don't want to become a pop star. They carry on the family line. And so many of the pottery families are like this. They go back 14, 15, 16 generations. It's really heartwarming that it continues to this day.
That's amazing that they can keep the young people interested to carry on the artisan traditions of pottery or other things. We only have 2 more minutes. You guys have introduced us to so many wonderful things in Kyushu. I'm sure everybody watching really wants to go to Kyushu right now. Thank you so much. So I just want to send people to your website, kyushujourneys.com. You guys are also on Facebook and Twitter, and you can give people good advice about how to do their own journeys, set them up with reservations, connect them to local people. Yeah? Anything you want to say for the last minute or so?
Yeah, I hardly do Twitter. I'm not really a Twitterer. The best place to find us is Instagram.
Okay.
Kyushu Journeys, where we post lots of gorgeous photos.
Wonderful.
Facebook, Kyushu Journeys, and our website, Kyushu Journeys. And drop us, anyone who's in Kyushu or thinking of coming to Kyushu, just drop us a message, say hi if you have a quick question. I'd be happy to chat, especially these days. Everything's quite quiet.
Also, on your website, I noticed you have WhatsApp, which is very popular for people to message quickly. So definitely look at the website, kyushujourneys.com. Thank you guys so much for sharing all your insights and everything.
you very much for having
Yes,
us.
thank
Good
you for
luck
giving
with
us the
everything. I know now is a really difficult time for travel industry. Please don't give up because we need you when things start moving again. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for being part of it. Thank you everybody for watching, and please join us again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.